welcome back to episode 78 of TBR, Turbo Radio, the beer review. And if you recognise the voice, it's me, it's Gaz. I'm in the driving seat tonight. It's been a bit of a while since I've done one and not done one in the new format, so looking forward to this. Just before we crack on, obviously going to introduce the two regular co-hosts. So who wants to go first? Give a little bit of an introduction and let us know what you're drinking.
Do you want to go first, Andy?
Sure. Hello. I'm on 2 drinks tonight because I drank them all earlier, apart from this last one. I don't know if it's going to focus.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Vocation Brewery, Life and Death, 6.5 IPA. And I've also just finishing off my Double Trouble whiskey.
Good man.
Adam, what about yourself?
Well, tonight I'm drinking another local beer, and it's a beer from Beartown, which is in Congleton. And actually, I was up in Congleton on Thursday night, and the plan was to pay a visit to the tap room. It didn't pay off. They were closed for a staff night. I was a bit gutted. But this is Beartown S'mores, and it's a chocolate and marshmallow milk stout. And I got to tell you, it is a really lovely, sweet beer. Could do with being a little bit stronger. It's 5%. I could do with maybe an 8 or a 9, just give it that extra bit of body. But it's rated as 3.74 on the Untapped app. And to be honest, I'd recommend it. It's a nice, especially on a warm day, nice light beer. I quite like it for a dark beer anyway.
Yeah, sounds good. I've got a couple of beers tonight. So I've got, I don't know if you can see that, a Cobra. And just in case that goes, I've got a Beavertown Gamma Ray, and if that one goes, I've got another one of them just ready, just in case. School holidays, isn't it now? So happy days. 5.4% that one is. Looking forward to this. So, who wants to go first? Any news as such?
I'll jump in if you like. It's related to the news that we shared, actually, funnily enough, about Brewdog, our favourite company news subject. But there's a couple of people who are in the brewing industry and on Instagram who've been sharing stories recently, and it has made the mainstream news. So Siobhan Buchanan in the UK and Brienne Allen in Massachusetts. And they're brewers, and they've been asking for feedback from just the brewing industry, people's stories. And there was a general theme, and obviously I think when you ask for news stories like that, you often do get a little bit of a negative theme to it, and that's what was coming through. And the general consensus was that the craft beer industry is a sexist boys club. So maybe when we've been slagging off and sticking the boot in, or not us personally, been reading the stories where it's happened about Brewdog, maybe actually it's more systemic in the whole industry, and they're just flagged up because they're the number one boys.
Yeah, I did see that story, and they did say it was, it made it out as though it's this, really cool, hippie, sort of trendy sort of club to be in, and actually they basically went, it's just an old boys club.
Yeah,
didn't it? That was the crux of the story. So yeah, that's interesting as to whether or not it is actually more industry wide, and are there any female craft brewers out there, and how hard is it to break into the market and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, I sort of came across that story as well.
Yeah, it's a bit troubling. I think the worst quote of it all was one brewer, obviously male, had said he didn't like employing women because of the dangers of allegations. It's like, just don't do it in the first place. That's how it's solved.
I was just going to say, it's quite an interesting subject, that, because if you got like 100 men and 100 women, and you'll get more men wanting to be brewers than women. And so, I mean? It's like, there's not many women in brewing. Maybe they just don't have that much interest. I do know, I have seen quite a few women brewers in the UK. Like Tatton's done some partnership with one. Most of like the bars I go to are normally like women servers, and they know all about the beers and stuff. Obviously not brewers, but they do have the knowledge there. So I'm not in the beer industry, but I would like to think it is quite fair, and they would. Maybe there's not many around, or they're all in. You know what I mean?
Well, allegedly not.
Yeah, apparently not. But I'm like Andy, though. I'd like to think, on the whole, it's not so bad, but there are some bad eggs in there.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, and again, it's that age old. It takes a period of time to build a reputation, but a fraction of a second to break a reputation, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Wonder where that was going.
I wondered why you paused there having a drink. Then I was like, what's he think I'm going to say now? Andy, any news stories following on from that, or?
Nothing news-wise, other than like obviously with lockdown ending. Like some bars are opening fully up, some are still doing table service and stuff, and I'm a bit gutted it's all over. Well, I'm relieved it's finally sort of we're coming out of lockdown, but I'm a bit gutted with quite a few bars are like saying they're not doing table service anymore. It means I've got to get out my ass and get a drink.
I tell you,
we're all just waving your hand. Excuse me, over here.
I'm a fan of table service.
It's great, isn't it?
Fan of table service.
It is great, yeah. No more queues at the bar. Just keep drinking it.
And it actually keeps you more. Because I have a bad habit of just sitting there and I'll just keep chugging it, even if I don't want to, I just do it. So if it is table service, you have that bit of a respite and waiting for them to come back round. Like,
It's actually doing your service.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I've just got a couple of sort of news stories in it, and one of them is on the back of, I think, the episode we did a couple of weeks ago, the sustainability one. And there's a brewery down in sort of the south coast in Cornwall called St Austell's Brewery, and they've teamed up with the Marine Conservation Society, and they're going to be their sort of charity of the year. And it looks at, on the back of when we spoke about being sustainable and trying to make sure that we look after the environment, and it just sort of piqued my interest, just in terms of it was something that we spoke about, and they basically said that it was really important to them that they look after the environment. They do everything they can to make sure that how they produce their beer is sustainable and all of that. So that's just a bit of a shout out to St Austell's Brewery. Fair play to you. Keep doing the good work as such. And then the only other one was, and again, it's on one of my pet hate beers. There was a brewery, Seven Brothers, launch a pineapple flavored beer. So that obviously piqued my interest as such. And they basically said that it was like a pale ale. And they want, what was I laughed at this. It was going to be, they said it's going to be about 5%. So fair enough. And it says, I really hope it brings out the fruity pineapple flavour. It's soft and crushable at a fairly sessionable ABV. So I'm definitely looking forward to a few pints of it in the sun. Yeah, not for me.
I'll give that a go. Don't you worry.
Yeah, not for me, Andy. I know you sort of aren't that bothered about sort of fruity beers as such, but pineapple in beer?
I'll give it a go. I've had it in cider, and Seven Brothers have got a few good beers, so I'll probably give that a go.
Yeah, I might be giving that a miss. But although, when we do the blind taste test and all that, you never know that's coming.
True. We need to do that.
So moving on. Obviously, you guys out there will be familiar with the new format now. So we've done a bit of a roundup of news. We're now going to go through the ABC. So I'll go first. And there's obviously a reason why I was drinking sort of Cobra, because my A this week is just about a bit about Cobra. So, do you know why sort of Cobra was brought about? Do you know why it was effectively developed to be the flavour that it is now?
I don't. I know it goes very well with a curry.
It does go very well with a curry, and that obviously will lead on to that. But Andy, do you know why it's sort of flavoured and the way that it is?
No clue.
Well, basically, the guy that founded it, a guy called Karan Billamoria, he founded it, and he claimed that British-style lagers were too gassy, and therefore he couldn't drink or eat as much as he wanted to because it filled him up. And then he said, actually, your traditional sort of ales were sort of too heavy to have with food. So what he wanted, and his thought and his premise of Cobra was, actually, I want effectively the best of both. So I want a sort of a lager style drink that isn't too gassy, that actually you can drink with food, which leads on very nicely from what Adam said in terms of it goes very well with a curry, and it does. I think the other one is it Kingfisher. Kingfisher?
Kingfisher, yeah, they're very big in Goa. Actually, I've been to Goa, and Kingfisher is everywhere in Goa.
Really?
At least it was. You couldn't get much else beer-wise out there. But there's also Mongoose as well.
Oh, of course, yes, yeah. So that was the sort of premise in terms of where it came back. He said it's too fizzy, too harsh to have, and he would have sort of 2 or 3 pints of it and then be bloated. That was said. He got the sensation of feeling bloated. So I thought, okay, interesting. And they've now got 45% of the Indian market in terms of Indian restaurants in the UK Cobra has 45% of their effectively those restaurants. I don't suppose you know this, but if you think of another animal stroke creature, what was Cobra originally going to be called?
Oh, that's a question.
So it wasn't Cobra.
Gecko.
Close, but no cigar.
Okay.
Andy, any clue?
Elephant.
There is an elephant beer.
There is a very good.
It's a very good beer.
That's made in Denmark.
That's made in Denmark. It was actually going to be called Panther. So the original concept was it was going to be Panther, but they did some various sort of feedback through taste testing and all that, and they went no.
That's a shame because they could have said 40% of the time. It works every time.
So yeah, so it was
Just as well. Swear, what I'm about to say.
Sorry, dude.
Stole this thunder again. Yeah, so it was originally going to be called Panther, but it was like no, that doesn't sort of quite sit well. So they changed the name to Cobra, and the company basically grew sort of year on year, and then they were actually bought out by the Molson, so the Molson Group.
Oh yeah.
So the Molson Group sort of own them now, and it's brewed in Burton. So within the UK, it's brewed in Burton. I think there's one in Germany, and then obviously in India. So I don't know whether it's part of because obviously Burton is is it Carling sort of? Is that Burton?
Yeah, Carling's there, but it's Molson. Is it Molson Coors?
Could be Molson Coors, yeah. So if that's theirs, I think it's part of their group. But yeah, Burton, which isn't that far away from where we are. But yeah, Belgium in the Rodenbach brewery in Belgium as well. So that's must be their European sort of market brewery as such. So yeah, just a bit of background really in terms of sort of Cobra, and as to I just find it a bit interesting why the flavouring came about in terms of English lagers too gassy, ales very tasty but too heavy, and you can't really have them with lots of food. So therefore there was this sort of hybrid drink that was created, and that's Cobra. Obviously multinational, multi-award winning. So that was my bit. So yeah, that's my A done. So Andy, B for your Belgian bit. Do you want to crack on?
Sure. So today I thought I'd just mention about one of my favourite bars in Bruges, called Le Trappiste. It's like in a cellar. So obviously with lockdowns in Europe and all that, they've, instead of just doing takeaway and stuff like that, they set up a pop-up bar in an old barn, like on a farm somewhere, like miles away. And I saw some pictures. I was like, oh, I feel like I could go over to Belgium. Like, it looks amazing. Like, just all outdoor seating, like tables and stuff like that, and just in a rural setting. It looks amazing. But they're back in the cellar now. So yeah, back in Bruges. Apparently, it's an 800-year-old medieval cellar, which surprised me how old it was. But yeah, if you're in Bruges, go to the Le Trappiste.
Is that the one we went to when we were in Bruges?
Yeah. So it's just a doorway, and then you go down them little windy stairs, and yeah, we sat down there, and it was all nice and quiet. And then like an English stag party came in.
That's true.
These bastards.
Yeah. we were enjoying this, just enjoying the beer down there, just taking in the atmosphere, because it's fabulous. Like Andy said, sorry guys, and all these, the cellar, which is all these arched roofs and this old brickwork. And you're thinking this is the proper place to be drinking Belgian beer until.
yeah. And the atmosphere went from being absolutely beautiful to actually, you know what, I just don't want to be in here.
Yeah. We didn't stay much longer after that.
No. So Andy, anything else for you, B, or do you want to move on to your craft sort of bit?
No.
Sorry, dude. Yeah, it was just a story about German beer, actually, and how it is. It was an article I was reading, threatened by the rise of craft brewing, which is interesting. Because when you think about German beer, you think about those ales that have been around for a long time. And actually, since 1516 was when the German brewing was, it was focused on the purity laws. So 1516, those purity laws were brought in about what the ingredients.
What you could have in your beer, yeah.
Exactly, and the length of time that it took to make it. Now, 30% of German consumers are now saying that they're motivated by curiosity to try craft beer. And that is threatening that German beer market. And what they've actually seen is a decrease in 1.3% in the German beer market, which doesn't sound massive, but actually think about the size of it, because they export a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
That is really quite large. A lot of it is obviously down to the closure of pubs during sort of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, when people have, I don't know about you, I certainly haven't drank any less beer. There's a pretty good chance I probably drunk more.
I know I've drank more beer.
yeah, I know. I've definitely drank more beer. And the German market are going for not just their traditional German beers, but because obviously with imports, and they've started to look around because they're buying in and drinking it at home, they're looking at craft beers instead, which they've never done before.
And that you see, that's interesting, because when you go to, and I was thinking about the rise of the craft beer, because you go back however many years, 10, 15, 20 years, there weren't many crafty type beers, and it seems as though there's been a real explosion. And actually, quite big craft companies, but actually quite a lot of smaller, sort of more independent companies. And I was thinking, if you were a traditional pub, would you consider not taking any risk as such, but would you split your beer from your traditional ales and do you go for your more craft ale?
Yeah.
And I was sort of thinking, it is a bit of a risk, because obviously that doesn't pay off, then you lose some of your custom. But if it pays off, then do you introduce another craft one, and then another craft one, and then ad infinitum, and all of a sudden you become a craft?
And that you're right. That is sort of the danger of it. However, from the German beer producer's point of view, the question is, do we start producing, or not just stop producing beer in that way, but do actually we start producing beer in a craft format? Do we start introducing other ingredients into our beer and actually getting away from what we've done for 15,
You see, that's a massive
years?
Shift change, though, isn't it? From these behemoths or breweries that, traditional, historical, massive breweries that churn out, barrel after barrel, keg after keg, whatever it may be. For them to actually start thinking, do we need to change what we do?
Mm-hmm.
They obviously feel threatened by it, and therefore is that not good or bad, but you think, God, that must be quite significant if they're going to change completely their 200-year-old whatever in brewing.
Exactly.
That's like, wow.
I mean, just before, literally 2019, before the pandemic and everything kicked in, whether it's been beneficial to craft beer or not, I don't know. I imagine people drinking more at home. Perhaps it has. I don't know. But just before, people were asking the question, has the craft beer market reached saturation point? And the answer was unequivocally no.
Yeah.
And given that it's continued to grow year on year on year since, 2020 and 2021, we're still seeing that increases. It's obviously not there yet, and for Germans to be, German beer producers to be asking that question,
and it's weird. I think obviously since doing this podcast, I'm drinking a lot more variety of beer, drinking a lot more crafty beers, starting to be a bit more knowledgeable about various different types of beers and stuff. And I know, Andy, you obviously you're Belgian beer fan, and you have a different beer every podcast, so. In terms of what we're drinking, we're looking for more variety. So therefore, is that the message that people are giving out? They want more variety?
I think so. I think that certainly seems to be the case. And I also had a little bit of look into the reasons why breweries fail. And actually, it didn't tend to be that there wasn't a demand for the beer. It was about the costings of it. Craft beer is expensive, and you want to try and get the cost down. So, a lot of it seems to be doing with landlords, etc. The cost that they face there, and how you keep that low.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
And it is. And Andy, sort of growing up, and I don't know whether we've spoken about this on a previous podcast, but sort of growing up, were you always a Belgian beer fan? Or because for me, growing up, I started drinking what my dad drinks. You go out and you drink what your dad drinks, and back in the day it was I'll have anything he could get his hands on, basically.
I was going to say, like a Snake Mountain Black with Big Grey.
But he went through a phase of your Boddingtons, your Worthingtons, and he was a bitter drinker. So I actually started drinking bitter effectively, and then he then got onto, back in the day, the Caffreys and the sort of the hand pull stuff, which was like.
Caffrey's used to be a nice.
Yeah, it used to be. It did used to be. I haven't seen it for years. It used to be proper nice. I did. And then, was it Ruddles? He used to Ruddles County, literally like pull that. So I used to just drink them, and then obviously you develop into lager, and you're like, woo, lager lout sort of thing, and you go through that lager lout phase. So, but Andy, what about you? Were you always a sort of a Belgian beer fan, or did you just develop that where obviously you went living over there, and that's how you discovered it?
Pretty much, yeah. I think the years before that, I just drink a lot of Budweiser and mainly Stella and Guinness. And then, yeah, my first pint in Belgium was Grimbergen and Blonde. And I was like, oh my God. It was like getting kicked in the mouth. I was like, how haven't I had this before?
What was it literally like a moment and you were like, right, that's it now. Forget all that.
Yeah.
Would that be disrespectful? All that rubbish beer. I'm now just going to drink these types of beers. And did you then think, leading on from that, did you then think, well, I'm going to now go and discover a bit more about this, and I'm going to try different types of sort of Belgian beers? And
oh yeah, I mean, I think I always remember my boss came over for the Champions League final just to watch it in a sports bar. And I think I was just drinking Guinness all night. I was like, it's not really Belgian beer, obviously, because we're in an Irish bar, but it was just amazing. And yeah, and then I think on nights out, I'll be like seeing what beers they had, and Maze, which is like, or Mayers, how you want to say it. It's like Carling over there, but that's slightly better tasting. €2 stuff, but it opened my eyes, I must admit. But yeah,
was there somebody that you drank with then that not quite sort of took you around all the beers and introduced you in terms of the different flavors? Was it just a sort of Voyager discovery for you personally in terms of I'm just going to go and try them and then learn about them? Or
oh yeah, I mean, I used to go Grand Place on my own, just sit there drinking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I used to sometimes go with a guy from work if our shifts matched up, but he'd just drink the cheapest one going. It's disgusting. He'd probably drink the drip tray if he could. It was literally just like, oh, what's that beer? That looks interesting. Then I'll try that. And yeah, and I think since I've moved back from Brussels, I've probably gone more mad with it. As in, I try and root them out a bit more. Last time, I'd just be like, oh, I'll just go to this bar and see what beers they've got. Whereas now it's like, I want this beer. Where is it? And I'll go to that bar in the UK.
Yeah. And I was going to say, so was that then you would? So would you risk? I say risk if that's probably the wrong phrase. Would you see a new beer and try it and run the risk that you might pay £4.50, £5, £6, £7, whatever it was for a pint, and not enjoy it? But the flip side is actually, if it was something that you enjoyed, that's another one to go on your list type thing. Or were you actually, I'm always just going to go, they're the tried and tested. They're the 2 or 3 that I like. I'm always going to drink them.
Yeah, most of the time, like say, if I'm altering, I'm going to go to one of the Belgian bars, for example. I'll normally start off with a random beer, one that just catches my eye for whatever reason, whether it's the name or the ingredients or percentage or whatever. And then after that, I'll go back to what I normally drink. Just drink it. Like Pirate.
Okay.
But no, I feel like to try the odd one. If I don't like it, I'd still drink it and order something I do like.
Yeah. Well, what about you then, Ad? Would you go into a pub in terms of? I know we've been down to London with Andy, and we've been to various bars and stuff. Would you be I'm going to try? I know we try the Duchess, but but would you be? I'm going to try that, or have you got like a select sort of 2 or 3? You think what? They're my stock favourites. If I see that, I'm going to have that definitely.
There's a few beers that if I see on the menu, then it's difficult not to order. So we were out on Thursday night for our good friend Bill's Stag Do. So I had a few beers. We ended up at a Belgian bar there. Obviously, the first beer I ordered in there was a bottle of Delirium.
Nice.
Absolute cracker. Really enjoyed it. And before we moved on, I had a can of Thornbridge Mojito Sour. And I tell you what, that was an absolute gem. I'd never seen it. I do enjoy a sour beer. I especially enjoy one that's really been flavoured with fruit rather than just a straight sour beer. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of those. But yeah, if I see something different, I do like to try it. I like to try different beers. And there's always that risk when you pick up a beer of any type, whether it's, something like this. This was £4. I've never tried it before, but I'm looking chocolate, marshmallow, milk stout. ticks all the boxes for me, that one.
Do you know what I was thinking? And we were looking at sort of holidays and can we go to this country? Can we go to that country? And then we're looking at all-inclusive or different types of holidays. If there was an all-inclusive bar that you paid an entrance fee to get in, but then they had a range of beers on tap that some you might have tried, some you might not have done, and it might be, I don't know, let's say 20 quid to get in, but then your drinks are free or whatever. But actually it allows you to taste lots of different. So you think, actually, you know what? I don't fancy that. And you would have your stock ones. So you might have Pirat, you might have like Duvel, you might have Leffe or whatever. But then you would have loads of others that you might not have heard of.
20 quid, they're going out of business early.
They all go, okay, all right. So okay, so maybe 40 quid or 50 quid there may be. But
I'd do that. I'd try that.
Do you know what I mean? So if you went in there and you went, actually, you know what? You just and it's a bit like an entrance fee for one. And you know when you go to, I don't know whether you have with your two, but you go to like an all-inclusive and you effectively you feel as though it's for free. It isn't, because it's you pay for it up front. But when you're there, you sort of feel as though, well, I can try that because it doesn't really matter if I don't like it, because I can just go and get something else. So actually, if they then rolled that concept out as a bar, and you went in and they had not proper random, like, you know, you can have a beer served in a carcass of a whatever it was that we discussed a few weeks ago, whatever it was, a weasel or a stout or whatever. But you know,
stout.
It was
stout and a stoat.
Oh yeah, stout. No. Yeah, not a stout. No, you can have a stout and a stout.
I like that.
Yeah, but you know, I wondered whether or not that there is a, because I think people gravitate towards what they like, and quite a lot of people maybe would be reluctant to try something else just because the cost of it. You know, if you look at 5, 6, 7 quid a pint, well, you know, times are hard. So
I think the danger is there, though. The people who are going to be put off by paying £5, £6, £7 for a beer are likely to be put off by paying 50 quid to enter a bar.
Yeah, maybe. I just, it would be great if you could not try before you buy as such, but you could go in there and you could, well, try before you buy would be great. Yeah. Let me just try that. Let me just try that. Yeah, I don't like that one. What about the next one? Yeah, I don't like that either. But you know, it's almost the all-inclusive sort of concept, but do it from a craft bar point of view.
I think the closest I've seen to that is when they do them like a little paddle, and they'll have like 3/3 of a pint on, and then you can normally mix and match and stuff like that.
Yeah,
there's quite a few that do that.
Yeah, and I know there's some beer festivals that you go to that, you know, you buy a ticket and then that entitles you to sort of 5 or 6 halves of whatever the beer is that is there, and rather than drinking pints, you just drink halves of it and you just try all the different ones, sort of thing. Yeah. I'm just curious as to, is that something that, you know, are we creatures of habit in terms of what we go for, or are we experimental in terms of the beers that I have experimented way more in terms of the beers that I drink on this podcast? And I wouldn't drink half the beers if it wasn't for Andy and you, really. So I'm just wondering whether there is a market out there for trying different things, but then at the same time, there is that comfort blanket of it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to try lots of different things. I don't know. Just literally just one of those things I just thought about, but I'm not sure. And we'll wait and see.
That's it. That's it.
So I don't know if there's any. Do you want to add anything else? Or
I think we should get our guest on.
I think we should get our guest on. And this is a guy who has been on with us before. Good friend of ours, and is somebody that is a mad keen darts fan. Has developed a company that we obviously are very familiar with, Double Trouble. So without sort of further ado, let's give Dave a bit of a welcome and say all of our highs to Dave. So hi, Dave.
Good evening, guys. I am drinking at the moment Brewdog Duopolis, an oat cream double dry hop IPA. First time I've tried this. I wasn't sure if I would like it, but there's not much left, so it's going down well.
Always a good sign. Well, Brewdog is a company that we talk about a lot on this podcast.
It is.
And it's been mentioned once tonight already.
It has, yeah. We don't mind plugging them again.
No, that's fine. We're still waiting for the freebies, but I'm sure that will happen at some point.
Indeed.
So, what do you know about this sort of beer club that you've developed then, Dave? Are you is it going well? Were you happy with the sort of feedback from the first beer?
Yeah, feedback from beer number 1 was great. Bit annoyed about beer number 2 taking its time to reach people. I have complained to Parcel Force a couple of times today because I know, Gaz, you're waiting on yours, Adam's waiting on his.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people waiting on it, so it would have been nice for you to be tasting it while we were doing the podcast, but it can't be helped. So I apologise for that.
No, it's fine. We did say that.
Beer number 1 went down well.
Good.
Lots of positive feedback, and of those lucky enough to try beer number 2, the feedback's pretty positive so far. So,
well, that's fantastic.
Fingers crossed you all like it.
No, well, I mean, I really enjoyed the first beer. So yeah, nice and positive feedback from myself. As I say, it's just a bit of a shame we didn't get the second one because it would have been great to talk about it and drink it on the podcast. But you know what, Parcel Force, pull your finger out and get it sorted. So I did pick up a tweet from Lorraine Winstanley that mentioned maybe potentially a sort of cider-based drink for beer number 3. So is that something you can let us into? A little secret or not?
So that won't be beer number 3. I think beer club will be beer. It won't be cider.
Okay, right. Okay.
If we do a cider thing that we may do in months to come, but it certainly won't be beer number 3's next. Cider we might do
down the line.
A couple of people asked us about cider early on, and we did look at it, and it was there was nobody local, so we tend to try and do things with people that are local. Like Beer Club is a new brewery that opened in Langham,
Right.
and I got on quite well with Stuart, who is hopefully going to join us tonight, but isn't able to. But so unless there's a local cider maker, it probably won't happen. If there is, then we'll look to do something.
And if there is, give us a shout out. We can always put you in touch.
Yeah.
and we'd love to have. I know he's not available tonight, but we'd love to have sort of Stuart on and just talk about the process and sort of what you guys go through in terms of selecting what the beer's going to be like. So that would be fantastic. So look forward to the next time Stuart's on.
Not only that though, dude. There is a little bit of a trick. There's a way you could filter it in with Beer Club.
Okay.
Do a snake bite.
Yes.
Peter's snake
bite. Yes. Yeah, I like that. So, but then, yeah, is that going away from the Beer Club that Dave wants to promote and stuff? So in terms of sort of, I say the Beer Club, obviously that's been received very, very positively. How is it going in terms of sort of the promotion of sort of local darts, community darts, that sort of tie in with, the beer and so on, what you're trying to do in terms of sort of promote in particular disability and female darts and stuff?
Yeah, no, there's a few things happening. So I don't know if you saw the guys for GDL, Dan, that does their stats and is also a player. He ran a cup recently, and so a few, I think the prizes for the winners of that cup or for each division winner is a bottle of Double Trouble or 6 beers. So today I've spent quite a bit of time sorting out those 14 orders, and then we've got the Disability Darts World Cup coming up in September. Yeah. Before then, we've got the Cleveland Open, which I think have Double Trouble as prizes for some of their winners as well. So there's a few things where people are choosing us as their prizes for the winners, basically, which is quite cool. And obviously me and Adam are still massively looking forward to coming up in September. Hopefully we're going to sort of meet up with you guys, perhaps have a beer and maybe a game of darts. I will bring my darts, so you grab Scott and we can have a game of doubles or something. That's fine. Looking forward to that. And actually, when we're up there, obviously we probably will podcast. I have visions of grandeur and perhaps trying at some point maybe to do some sort of weird live
podcast where we get various people on at various times. So it might be that, Dave, we're struggling for 5 minutes. Can you just come and fill for us?
Yeah.
Just talk about anything you want to.
Generally, we struggle roundabout from the start to roughly the end.
Yeah. From about minute 2 to minute 58.
Yeah.
You know, the first minute and the last 2 minutes are generally pretty good.
Golden.
So, yeah, golden. Yeah. But no, I think what we'll do is, I think the plan maybe is to try and come up and record a couple of episodes, maybe a pre-recorded one. I would love to do, even if it's just a 15-20 minute, half an hour sort of additional podcast where we're live from the event. We grab the odd person here or there. You've just come off, you've just won. How are you feeling? Type thing, you know, and that for me would be brilliant. But yeah, looking forward to coming up there. Looking forward to seeing your input and what you're doing up there, which is, you know, we said we'd support it. We're looking forward to coming up and all of that and have a beer with you guys and see where the weekend takes us, really.
Yeah, should be good.
So just out of interest then, obviously you started off doing your gin and your vodka and what have you. How's this differed then, doing the beer to that? How's this been a different journey, if at all?
So yeah, no, it's been quite different in the sense that if it does do well and people do like the beers, it's something that you can keep doing. Whereas doing a spirit, like, as much as you could do different flavored gins forevermore, there's quite a lot more. I don't know. It's quite, to do all the labeling and the bottles that we do with gin. There's quite a lot of effort to get to a produced product, whereas beer's a bit simpler. And because the brewery's local and it's new, it's also helping their business out, us sort of using our customer base and helping promote what they're producing. So quite like doing that. And it just keeps it interesting because it's every 2 months, whereas the spirits is sort of as and when we felt like it was a bit stale, and people had asked us about when are we going to do something different, and we would look into it and try and see if it was possible. Because we're both still working and both still young families, so juggling that is often time constraints to get things to market and market them and get the word out. That's the challenge for us, basically.
So is that something that you see the evolution of Double Trouble in terms of maybe down the line looking at it's a Double Trouble beer brand with lots of different flavors and maybe every now and then a gin or a vodka or a rum or a whiskey, as opposed to at the moment, which is it's the Double Trouble gin that was the first and then so on and so on, with actually now we're looking at the beer club as an addendum to it. Are you thinking maybe your business model might be flipping the other way around?
So I'd like to say that I've thought that far ahead, Gaz, and that it's definitely planning out that way. But that would be a lie. So no, I've not really thought that far ahead. We're basically seeing how it goes. If it works and we do well, we'll keep doing it. If it doesn't, then we'll try something else or go back to another.
But generally at the moment though, the beer,
as it once was.
So the beer club generally at the moment is going quite well, and you've had quite positive feedback.
It's going well, and the fact that we are doing it is like there's only 501 bottles available, I think makes it interesting, because they are one-offs that we're selling. Like we probably won't do any of the ones that have been done before, and the first two have been quite, like, once you've tried this second one, it's another light beer. It's like as close to, I don't know if you saw the email that I sent, but it's as close to a lager tops as I've tasted without adding lemonade.
Right.
It's like chill it down and get it drank on a hot day in the sun, and it's perfect. Perfect, smooth, cool drinking beer. I think the next one will do something a bit darker. No a stout, but we'll do something that is IPA possibly.
Yes. Well, we love an IPA.
And towards the autumn.
Yeah, we like an IPA.
I'd seen something on Borderlands Brewery actually, and they'd done a limited edition beer as well, which struck me as very interesting. They'd done a limited edition New England IPA, which was a grapefruit flavoured one. And I know, that to me, obviously similar to sort of Brewdog's Elvis juice in some ways, it being the grapefruit IPA. But yeah, that definitely interested me. Something like that, I'd definitely put that case forward.
Grapefruit, yes. Pineapple, no. But yeah, grapefruit. I'd say the Elvis juice. Okay, they reduced the ABV and whatever, which is a little bit of a shame. But
this one was 5.7, I think it was that they did. So it's nice strong one. So I'd be intrigued to try that one.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to try the different phases of that one as it's being developed. Because as Stuart's going, because I'm down quite a bit to pick stuff up or just drop in to see him, he often gives me one away to try. So I've tasted that grapefruit IPA from first recipe to launch, and it is a good beer. Very nice.
Wow.
If you like grapefruit IPA, it's a good beer.
We're in the wrong business.
Dude, what are we doing? We're doing a beer podcast. We're in the wrong business.
We are. Absolutely, we are.
So in terms of, obviously you've got your beer club, you've got your sort of your gin, your whiskies and so on and so forth. You've got a lot of the work in the community, the disability darts, the ladies darts. So what's next then, Dave? What's a little nugget that, because you always give up something that you really don't want to. So
oh, God. I should have been prepared for this.
We're always going to ask. So
yeah, no, I should really have been prepared. No, at this precise moment in time, we are just concentrating on the beer club, so I didn't really have anything to share around what we're doing next. Sorry to disappoint on that front.
No,
I think that's
fine.
why
I just wondered whether or not there was something. That was all. Yeah. Ad?
Well, as always, if you're going to come on here, then you're going to get some pictures of ideas from us. Have you had a thought about any?
Well, that's why I come on.
Well, it's not per se, other than my all-inclusive beer idea, which I think might have some legs, but it's probably visions of grandeur and all of that. So, Dave, I was talking about when you go on an all-inclusive holiday, you sort of, yes, you pay up front, but actually you can sort of, I don't really like that. So it doesn't really matter whether I don't finish the food or the drink. I'll just try something else. So can we roll out that concept into a bar? So you pay a price to enter, and then effectively you can try different things and you can drink different things. And Adam poo-pooed it and basically said, no, nobody's going to pay 40 quid, 50 quid to enter. I would, if it meant I could have free beer all night. But
I'd aim to drink more than 50 quid worth of beer.
Yeah. So that was my only, that was my idea, is can we roll that out? In terms of, is there anything specifically for Dave Double Trouble? I'd love for there to be, and he sort of mentioned it, a stout. I think that a nice hearty, not stout, a stout.
What about a milk stout? This is what I pitched during the different.
A vanilla milk stout.
Well, I was thinking more of a Sarah Milk Stout ski.
A Sarah Milk Stout ski. See, I like that. I really like that.
Yeah.
That needs to happen.
Okay, it's written down. I couldn't forget that one. I did like that. But no, I do like I think I would quite like to go to a place like that where it's a tap room, and you can just pay whatever the entry is, and then you can try whatever you want.
Yeah, see, I think if you had a stock standard of, I'm going to say, anywhere between half a dozen to a dozen beers that you would recognise, you'd like, and then you would have not necessarily really random beers, but beers that maybe you wouldn't have come across it, and you pay an entry fee, and then effectively it's just, yeah, I'll try that. Oh God, I don't really like that. Well, would you mind if I tried that? Would you mind if I drank that? And I think that's got legs. If I'm honest, I think that's something that you could develop. We'd have to work on the concept and whatever it may be, but I think that's got legs a little bit, if I'm honest. So.
And what are you thinking, guys? In terms of, is it like a monthly night that happens, or is it? Just a
well, I mean, visions of grandeur. You open a venue yourself, and you've got all of the beers in there, and you are just open to trade Monday to Sunday, and away you go. But before that happens, I think you could have almost like a takeover evening. So you could turn around and say, with various different venues, if you put these beers in, you can then charge 20 quid, 30 quid, 40 quid for people to come in and they can try all of your beers.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, you do like a one night only takeover type thing concept.
Yeah.
So that was, I definitely think, and that allows people to try different beers, try things that they don't normally try. And yes, they've paid for it up front because they bought the ticket, but they don't feel as though it's costing them a lot of money because they probably drink 30 quid's worth of beer anyway in a normal night. So, 40 quid. Well, Andy, a bit more, but
200 quid.
200 quid now. Yeah, but it gives them the opportunity just to think, well, actually, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And you know what? If I throw it away and I don't really like it, I bought my ticket. And you'd have to market it right so you don't get your yobs in that just go for the cheapest one and just like chug it down. You know what I mean? And it becomes a bit of a nightmare. But I genuinely think there's a bit of legs in that. So maybe that's just me.
The takeover thing would work, and especially if you take extra bottles to take home, sort of thing as well. And that's where you make your money in it. So the entrance fee would just get people in and taste. Yeah, like providing. Well, I've just finished off a bottle of whiskey, selling them as well. Right.
Yeah, so you get into the bar, you have your takeover evening, you go to a venue, and it's like, right, everything in this venue is free, effectively. Yes, you've paid 40 or 50 quid to get in, but when you're in, it's free. Oh, and by the way, if you like anything, you can then take any of that home in a bottle, and it's going to cost you 50% of what it would normally cost or whatever, so... I do think there's something in that, if I'm honest. And as you say, Dave, you do the one night takeover, you do the venue takeover, you take that on the road, you go to different places. But ultimately, I'd love to think that you could do an all-inclusive bar where you just go in, you pay entrance fee, and everything in is free.
Barclays Bank is still for sale and all sales. You get it bought, dude.
Dude, yeah. Well, if Dave wants to invest, I'm more than happy to take his money.
It's not willing to.
It does sound to iron out the finer details.
Yeah,
I'll send you over the contract so you just sign on the dotted line.
Suggesting that it doesn't need more work, but just so I've got it clear in my own mind.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't want to undersell you. It's fine. You can have 10%. It's not a problem. Honestly, it's fine.
I've got a couple of beer pitches for him.
Wait, surprise.
Funny enough. We did an episode recently about weird ingredients in beer. And what was the one flavour beer you said you'd like to try?
Pineapple.
Tea.
No, not pineapple. Thank you, Andy. And not tea. Mint.
Said. Mint. Oh, no, mint. No, I didn't. Yeah, mint. Yeah, mint.
So if you do a mint flavoured beer, and obviously there's a certain variety of sweet called Bullseye, which is flavoured mint. So you got a Bullseye beer there.
I do think a mint, it would have to be quite a heavy drink, but I do think just a hint of mint. I think it will go. A hint of mint. You see, there's your strapline straight away.
I don't think one exists. I'm trying to think of mint spirits. Is there no liqueurs that are mint flavoured?
It's creme de menthe, isn't there?
Is that mint?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, and then...
I've never tasted with mint.
Yeah. It's not pleasant.
Good beer.
No.
Yeah.
But I do think that might be a bit of a... I think that might be a bit of a goer.
And the other idea I had, we do like a
You got a name for that, Adam, just before we move away from the mint beer?
The mint beer would be Bullseye. Bullseye, because
cool.
It's after the sweet, but also it's got that darts theme to it as well. So that's why I thought I'd mention it.
Yeah.
The other one I had was, and it's not even a specific beer, it's just a specific strength of beer. And we like a strong beer, don't we?
501.
No.
50.1.
Well, that did cross my mind, but seemed a bit extreme. So I was thinking 7.925. So the distance from the Arky. Yeah, the distance of the Arky. So 7'9" and 1/4, or was it 3/4?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But if you had that as a percentage, the old Arky ale.
You see, Arky ale. I like that.
That's it.
I like it.
A nice strong IPA there, maybe, or even a double IPA, perhaps.
Yeah.
that's a good one. I think one of the things that's our challenge at the minute is everyone sees that basically whenever we increase the percentage, we have to increase the price. And that's what makes it challenging for us to do really strong beers. But for those that are beer enthusiasts, having something like that would be cool. I agree.
Yeah, we'd pay the increased price for that.
Yeah, and is it something that you think maybe, so could you do, and I don't know, in terms of a business model, could you do a gold and a premium, or a premium and a gold, depending on how you, and you know, you premium, you have your, and I suppose it would mean you producing double the amount of beer as such, but you know, your 4.5% beers, and then you have your premium, which is your 5.5%, 6.5% beers, or whatever it may be. Do you know what I mean? So whether or not you do almost not two different beer clubs, but it's two different levels of the beer club. Because I would pay a little bit more to have a 6.5%, 7% beer, as opposed to a 4% beer.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's not something we've looked at or even chatted to Stuart with. If he had been on, he could have gave us a view.
Yes.
But I think he'll definitely be able to do it. Quite a few of his beers that he's been developing. He's developed a couple of stronger ones. I'm trying to think of the ones that are in. I better not give too much away, actually. That'd be,
go on.
Give away about my own business, but it's probably shouldn't do it for others. So no, he's developed a couple of stronger ones that are nice and smooth, and so I know that he can do it, and he's like he's good at what he does, and he's a proper beer enthusiast. It would have been, it's a shame he couldn't have come on, but definitely we'll get him on because he can talk for weeks about it. We'll all have an easy time of just listening to him talk about flavors and hops and everything he's passionate about.
No, but that's great from our point of view. Yeah. We talk about beer every week, you know, but to get somebody on that can talk about actually the process of what he does and what he goes through in order to create the flavors, to create the different strengths, you know, that'd be brilliant to get somebody on 100%. Like that. So yeah, if he could come on, and when he can come on.
You're coming up to the Disability Darts World Cup, you're probably coming up the M6, won't you? From where you are.
Yeah.
So Langham, where the brewery is no far. You'd sort of have to go that way anyway. So you should call in on that route or on the way home to the brewery, and we'll get in and we'll have a chat to Stuart in the brewery. We could do 5 minutes live or 10 minutes live in there.
No,
that's a definitely good shout. That is, yeah,
absolutely.
You drive though.
Well, I was thinking train.
Train's good. I'm good with train. That's fine.
And then a final pitch for you then. Like I say, I've been looking on Borderlands Brewery's site, and they do a Riva Red. It's one of their core ales, which is a red ale. So I'm thinking, if you did a triple hopped red ale,
you could do
different. You see where I'm going with that?
I can see. You can go treble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this one's the double hop beer. So if you did like the little red bit, the old treble 20, you could call it, I haven't got a name for it, but I just think if it's red and it's trebled.
Okay.
It's 20% as well.
And it's 20%. It's triple hopped and it's 20%. So it's a treble, triple hop. Yeah, I like that.
It's dangerous is what it is.
No, that's very dangerous. No, I like that. And again, you talk about the theme of and the colour scheme of the dartboard and the numbers. So could you do You
could do a wheat beer, like a white beer as well, couldn't you?
Well, I don't mind.
Yeah,
sort of Huygarden. I like. So
that's a beer of the stout as well. Nice porter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few.
So there's a few ideas.
I'm not sure about a green beer.
But you could go sustainable.
The mint one could surely have a green tinge.
There you go.
There you go. The mint one, yeah. So you could go the outer. Ball.
I'm nervous about it tasting like mouthwash, mind. The mint one.
Yeah, no, I'm not on about it being like Listerine or anything like that. Or other mouthwashes are available, by the way. It's just literally, it's just a hint. And I was thinking, and it sounds silly, and I'm not suggesting you use these ingredients, but like a lamb with a mint sauce, it's just a hint of the mint. It just complements the flavour.
You're still not convincing me, dude.
You're not a fan of that, are
I'm
you?
not sold on
You're just not. I do think it's an untapped market.
I think it's untapped for a reason.
You think they'd have discovered it already, do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think?
I think it's the old mouthwash thing.
I'm frantically googling lamb flavoured hops and things like that, just to see if it's possible.
No, but I do think it doesn't have to be an overpowering mint flavour. So I'm not about, you glugging mint sauce or whatever. I'm not, but it's just a hint of mint.
Don't get me wrong.
I like that. I like that as a strapline there. Hint of mint.
I like
that.
And I like mint sauce, but not once have I ever thought, like a cracking beer, that.
So, look, let's work
Where
on
are
that.
you? Gazzy's house or Adam's house?
We're in my house.
We're at Adams at the moment, yeah.
Have you got a mouthwash in your house?
I have, yeah. No, I'm
Okay,
not
you
putting it in
put
my
this
beer.
In fact, you've got a stout there, just a tiny little bit in. It's a vanilla and marshmallow stout with mint.
With mint, yeah. No, I'm quite happy to take that as it. I'd rather drink the Duchess than that.
Ooh, steady on.
Cool.
Steady on.
So, David.
That's a good shout.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, the thing is though, Dave, that's only one of the small bottles. Get the big ones, dude. Come on.
David also had a couple of questions for us.
He did,
which I think made us all quite nervous, didn't it?
Yeah, I was sort of hoping we'd sort of skip past that bit and we'd sort of forget about that.
No, that's not happening. These are big questions for a beer podcast. These are important. I'm hoping that you've not covered them, and I'm asking you a question that you covered last week, and I missed the episode. But we'll see how we get on. So basically, while one of you is talking, the other two can be thinking. And what I'm looking for, obviously, you're all passionate about beer because you wouldn't do a beer podcast if you weren't. So what I'm interested to hear from you is, can you describe a couple of beer memories, where they were, what the beer was, and why is it memorable? That's what I'm looking for. Just so I can get to know a bit about each of you and what made you passionate about beer.
Who wants to go first on that one?
Andy can go first because he's got it straight there.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, in today's podcast actually is I went Belgium. I got a job there, flew over there, and my boss was going to meet me at like 6 at night or something in some restaurant. So I went there, didn't drink all day. Like I got there early, I didn't mooch around, and on the menu they recommended a Grimbergen Blonde, and yeah, it's stuck in my head that day. Just I had a first swig of it, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I was just like, I've not looked back since. I'm addicted to it. This ain't Alcohol Anonymous, is it?
There's a couple for me. The first one really was myself, Andy, and Ad went down to London for the NFL weekend, and we went into, was it Cafe Rouge maybe? And I think we ordered like Croque Monsieur or whatever, Croque Madame, and I think Andy sort of said, "Oh, there's Leffe on," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
He would have said left.
Left. Okay. He would have said left. I said Leffe, but apparently it's left. Is that right? So Andy said there's left on. I was like, okay, we'll have some of that. And we sort of had, I don't know whether we all had a pint maybe. And then it was like, wow, that's really good. Should we have another one? And that was an abiding memory of mine, really. And I'd sort of seen it prior, but not really tasted it. And I think that possibly was the first time that I'd sort of tried it, enjoyed it. And from that moment on, like my love for that beer has grown and so on. So that for me is quite a strong memory in terms of going down, going to an event that I enjoyed, the NFL, with two mates, real good weekend. And that for me was the first time that I tried a beer that I now really enjoy. So that's quite a strong memory for me.
I'll tell you one for me, and it's a beer that I enjoyed anyway, and it's a beer that was first made in 2011, so you already know I'm talking about the Titanic Plum Porter.
Yeah.
And I love that beer. I think it's a fantastic beer. But my brother organised a brewery tour because it is just up the road from us in Burslem. It's literally less than 10 miles away. And they had it on tap. And I remember having it there. And there's very much a truth in brewing is that the best pint you can have of that beer is actually at the brewery. It's not travelled. It's not been moved around. It's literally been taken from the brewery and put on the taps. And that is by far and away the best pint of plum porter I have ever had in there. And don't get me wrong, they're going to look after their pipes. They want you to taste their beer at their best. And like I say, the best pint of Guinness I've ever had is at St James's Gate Brewery in Dublin. Yeah. And it's very true. The closer you can get a beer to where it's made, it's phenomenal. I do remember that pint, having sat there in front of me, just the flavours and everything, just fantastic.
Yeah. And the only other one was, and again, similar when we'd been down, I don't know whether it was the same NFL weekend, but we went to a place called Belgo, which was a Belgian beer, and that was my first sample of the Duchess, which, and you're on about memories of beers and stuff, that's a particularly poor memory of mine because I didn't enjoy it and I'm not a massive sour fan. So, but we went in and I said to Andy, I'll have a pint. And was it a delirium maybe or something? And Andy was like, no, you won't have a pint. I was like, why not? He went, well, they don't serve it in pints. I was like, what do you mean they don't serve it in pints? He's like, well, it's like 9% or 11% or whatever it was. I was like, oh, okay. Can I just order 2 halves then? Sort of thing, you know? And so I had this half, and he was like, well, you can have a half. And so drank this half, and then, and we had, the Belgo is fantastic, and it was quite a continental place, and there's mussels, and we had a fantastic meal there, didn't we?
Oh, amazing.
But I remember Andy saying, no, they won't do your pints. And I didn't know whether that was because pints are uncouth, or actually it's just the strength of the beer that they don't allow you to drink pints.
Or you're uncouth.
Or I'm uncouth. Maybe they just looked at me and just thought, yeah, you're not having any. I don't know. Maybe so. I don't know. But I don't know what your memories were of that, Andy, because I remember that night.
Yeah. Belgian beers normally in like, thirds or 2/3 or something like that, or in schooners and stuff like that. It's never in pints.
Yeah.
Or it's in tanks.
Yeah. I just remember going in there and Andy, literally Andy was like, no, you won't get that. And it was the first time really that I'd been in, not the first time, but one of the main times with Andy, who knows about Belgian beer, that sort of introduced me to it and the sort of the concept of culture and all of that. So, and he was like, yeah, you won't get a pint. And I was like, oh, that's okay. I'll just drink this quickly. You know what I mean? It's fine. I'll just drink this half quickly and get another half. So
could go wrong.
So they were my two really, and actually they both involved these guys. And you could go back in the day talking about beers that you used to drink when you went out with your old man and all of that, because you used to drink what your old man used to drink, and that was your first introduction to beer. Really, was what your old man used to drink. But I think mine were these two guys really. Just, going down to London and sampling the slightly alternative beers that I would have normally traditionally drank. So, yeah, they were my memories. What about yourself then, Dave? Go on, what was your abiding sort of?
I've got a Belgian one. So Suzanne and I went to Bruges a few years ago and I tasted Quack. So I tasted Kriek. And then I tasted Quack. I wasn't a fan of Kriek beer, which is like a cherry beer. I don't know if you've had that when you've been out there. Wasn't a fan of that. But then I tasted Quack and the wooden sort of, and it's like an hourglass that they serve it in, isn't it? So I have like fond memories of Belgium and Bruges in particular, and the beers that I tried there, and just thinking, wow, I haven't tasted anything like this at home. And then my other beer memories are probably not so much about the flavour of the beer or anything like that, but just the time and the place. Like, so one of them was probably being in Tenerife with one of my mates, and they served us, like, I think it was San Miguel, or it might have even been a cheaper version of that. So it wasn't like it was a fancy beer, but they served it in iced glasses. And it was the first time I'd seen that, and it was glorious sunshine. And you were like, does life get much better than this?
This is heaven. This is heaven.
So I remember thinking beer is good at that point. I don't know what age I was, maybe 18 or 19. but that's an earliest memory. And then others were like Suzanne and I stayed in Cameron House on the banks of Loch Lomond, and
Good
I
golf
think
course
they
there.
had Schiehallion. I don't know if you've tasted Schiehallion lager. It's described as the champagne lagers, but they had that on draft, and it was the first time I tried it on draft, and I thought, wow, that is a lovely, lovely beer. So they're some of mine.
Cool.
Wow.
Let's. Have you got any other questions for us?
No.
Yeah,
not you, David.
Obviously, I didn't just make it up as I went along. So thank you for sharing your memories. So now I'm going to ask you all, if you were to make a beer and to help others have a memorable experience of it, what style of beer would it be? What setting would you serve it in? What glass? What type of music would you play? What would you like? Who would you recommend it for? All of those types of things. Like, what would you do? So it's a beer podcast. So what would you create for others?
Wow. How many questions?
Oh, I say, did you?
That's a whole new podcast.
It is. It's a good concept for one as well. But Andy's also a massive fan of music. Should we throw him under the bus again?
Yeah, actually. Go on, Andy, you go first.
Andy, feel free to fire it right back at Adam.
Well, a lot of Belgian bars are, they have long benches and long tables. So you can have a table that'll be like 40 people sort of long, and then they'll play like the 40s or 50s sort of music, and it's just brilliant atmosphere. I'd recommend that. Just go to find there's one called Mort Sabite, I think it is, in the centre of Brussels. And the waiter's all there, dressed in an apron. He's got the bottle opener on like a metal sort of, spins on his finger and stuff, pops the top off, and it's brilliant atmosphere. Like the music's like in World War II, that sort of, I don't even know what the style is, but like a classical sort of music. That's what I'd recommend.
What style of beer though?
Oh, yeah, well, probably like an Abbey sort of Belgian beer. Or even a left. There we go. That's an easy one.
Go on, Andy. You go next.
Cheers, dude. For me, I would go for, first of all, the type of beer would have to be a good, strong imperial stout. Good, a 10, 11%, one nice, thick body one. You sit down, relax, and sip generally. And then I'd have it probably, I don't know, maybe similar. We talked about earlier, funnily enough, Bruce came up earlier in the podcast, and we talked about a bar that we went into that Andy will tell me the name of.
La Trappiste.
La Trappiste, which is in a cellar. And I think a good strong beer in their dark, strobing lights, listening to the Smiths. Obviously, something like How Soon Is Now,
Jesus.
blaring out.
I did expect the Smiths to come up with that.
If you can't think of anything worse than drinking a beer and listening to the Smiths, if I'm honest. But
have you tried it?
Yeah, in your company.
Yeah, well, that's where you went wrong. It was my company that was the problem.
I don't know. Dave, you've proper thrown us under the bus there. I quite like the. Whether it's a good old fashioned sort of American hoedown, down, and you get like a sort of country and western feel, and you get like a nice sort of family orientated event that everybody could go there, and the guys are there, and you've got your barbecue food, and you've got a bit like your tailgate NFL type thing, and you've got your barbecue food, and you've got, but it would have to be. You see, I don't even think like a Belgian wheat beer would go. It would have to be relatively light. I'm going to say it would have to be. It's going to be hot. There's going to be food. Maybe sort of a 5.5%, 6% sort of pale ale type, sort of citrusy but no pineapple sort of ingredients. That for me, I think would be great. I just kicking back, listening to some bit of country and western music, just barbecue brisket on there, just get it on there, drink some beer. That I think that for me that's what I'd go for.
Yeah, forget what I said. I'm going with Gaz. I'll go Gaz's.
I think that'd be mint. Happy days.
Cool.
What about yourself, Dave?
It's useful to know that for your concept night that we talked about earlier. Like when people are paying in, you want it to be a memorable experience, so they come back. So
yeah.
It's almost like I knew you were going to talk about
that.
and that's it. And it's about providing people opportunities that they remember, they enjoy, and therefore they associate enjoying that with a particular type of beer or style of beer or ABV of beer or whatever your USP is for your beer. It's about hooking them in and trying to make them associate that with having a good time, and therefore they'll then go back to that and then do it again. That's the key, isn't it?
Andy asked the question there. What about yours, Dave? What would be your perfect?
Oh, what would be mine? So it'd definitely be Double Trouble. What did I have? So I thought, one of the memories I have enjoying beer was when I was in Madeira and I was looking out over the sea, and it was quite greeny blue and there was yachts and the sun was shining, and I was thinking, this is quite pleasant.
So the soundtrack to Mamma Mia was playing in the background, was it?
I'm trying to think, did I write down music? I don't know if I wrote down snacks. I didn't write down music, but I wrote down snacks. I think I was stumped on music because I kept thinking, well, Adam's going to mention the Smiths. So
you can't have the Smiths overlooking a nice Madeira sort of coastline with yachts and blue sea and stuff. You can't have that.
Right. It wasn't Smiths.
The Stone Roses.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably some sort of juicy IPA served in a probably almost like, I quite like drinking beer out of wine glasses. I'm not sure why. It's something I'd rather go for a glass like this than I would like a pint glass,
like a Stein or something. Yeah.
I tend to enjoy it more. But yeah, so something like that would be for me a juicy IPA, probably orange and lemon, something that packed a punch and was quite just refreshing.
Yeah, beautiful. Love the sound of that.
Any more questions? When
that was the two that I prepared. I can make some up if you like.
No, we're good. That's fine. I hate being put on the spot. Andy, anything you want to add? Any sort of last thoughts as such, or?
No, it's been good. It's good having you on, Dave. It's been a while. It's been good talking about beer and stuff and what's next for Double Trouble and what I've got to spend my hard-earned money on. I did just put an order in for the next beer. I did leave it a bit late, but for those who are listening, you can check their website.
We didn't quite have the same waiting list that we had, more so because Scott and I didn't put the effort in that we did for beer number one. But we didn't have it all sold out in a week, so there's plenty left, Andy, don't you worry.
Oh, I've done the order already. That's good.
Adam, anything else to add?
No, I mean, obviously, we would have liked to have had the beer tonight to try it out, but obviously Royal Mail had other ideas. I think if you were to look back over my personal tweets, you'll find I've criticised on many occasions. That might be why it's still sat there.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, really looking forward to trying this one, which is a golden ale, isn't it? Am I right in saying?
Yes. 2 hops in it. First Gold and Columbus are the 2 hops.
Very nice, very nice. And like I say, my cousin is coming over from Texas, and I'll be begrudgingly handing over a bottle to him to try as well. So yeah, he's looking forward to trying it.
There's 2 in your package. There's 2 bottles of pale ale, like the Alley Pale Ale as well. So you can try those.
He listens to the podcast. Can we edit it out and just say one?
I was going to say you could have one of my new ones as well, but let's edit that bit out as well.
You can edit that out.
We'll edit that out, yeah. I'd edit that. From my point of view, I'm sort of hosting tonight. It's been a hoot. It's been great to have Dave on, just sort of picking his brains about Double Trouble and where it might go, and actually being in been on the receiving end of being thrown under the bus for one or two sort of questions that we weren't sort of prepared for. So, Dave, thanks very much for that. And yeah, look, if you're interested in the Double Trouble Beer Club, hit us up at TBR, or we'll put you in touch with Dave. Dave's out there, sort of Double Trouble, sort of all the Facebook, Twitter, sort of all the social media groups and stuff. So, yeah, let us know. Get in touch. And if anyone's got any comments about anything that we've spoken about, want to make a comment about any beers they've tried, what about my concept about an all-inclusive beer club? I think, I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Other than that, guys, I know we're sort of possibly just over an hour mark now. So, Andy, do you want to sort of just wrap it up and say your final goodbyes?
Yeah, it's been good. See you all next time.
Perfect, short and sweet, as always from Andy, nice and concise. Dave, any final thoughts?
No, just thanks for having me on again. Nice chatting to you all.
Perfect. Love to have you on, Dave. Anytime, and like I say, we'll love to grab you on next time when we've got the Stuart was it that was going to do the sort of talk about the process and stuff. So look forward to that. Adam, final thoughts?
Yeah, very much looking forward to the next time we have you on. Looking forward to having Stuart on as well, hopefully, so we can talk to him a little about his perspective of making the beer for Beer Club. And obviously, it's just around the corner now, the All Disability Darts. Very much looking forward to heading up there, getting out into the world and seeing something other than these four walls and do something a bit different.
Yeah. I've hosted tonight. It's been a hoot. Enjoyed it. Again, echo what I'd said. Really looking forward to sort of getting out on the road now. Boris has released the country and we're past Freedom Day, as he says. So looking forward to what Disability Darts holds for us. Really looking forward to what we can do from a podcast point of view over that weekend. Really looking forward to taking on Dave and Scott a game of darts, have a couple of beers with them. So yeah, it's going to be a fantastic weekend. And see you later, guys. Loved it. Been a hoot, and look forward to the next time. Cheers.